Okay, so imagine like data breaches being a thing of the past because, every single access point is constantly verified.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the promise of this whole identity access governance or IAG thing.
Right.
And that's what we're going to be diving into today. And we've got some really interesting sources. We've got some expert insights. And we also have some YouTube videos by Bert Blevins. I think you're familiar with him.
Oh, yeah, Bert Blevins. He's great. He's a tech entrepreneur, cybersecurity specialist. Really explains things very well.
Yeah, he does, like really well.
Yeah.
So instead of like getting bogged down in definitions, let's just think about IAG like a digital bouncer for all your data and systems.
Okay, yeah.
Right, it's just like making sure that the right people get through the door.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So it's about making sure that only authorized individuals can access those sensitive systems, sensitive information.
Right.
And it's all about implementing the right policies and processes and technologies to make sure that happens.
But this isn't just like for big corporations, right?
Yeah, I know.
This is something that we can all like relate to. In our own digital lives, we all have to worry about this stuff.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. You probably already use multi-factor authentication.
MFA.
Yeah, on your email or your bank accounts.
Yeah.
That's IAG in action, right?
Right.
You're already doing it.
So even if we don't like realize it, we're already using these principles to protect our own information.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's break down the core components of IAG. Now, one of the things I keep hearing about is this thing called identity lifecycle management.
Oh, yeah.
What is that all about?
So that's really about tracking user accounts.
Okay.
From the moment they're created to the moment they're deleted.
Right.
So it's like a digital trail that follows someone's journey through a company, right?
Right. Yeah.
As their roles change, their access rights need to change too.
So like if someone gets a promotion or moves to a different department,
Maybe.
their access privileges are updated automatically.
That's the goal. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the goal of identity lifecycle management. So they only have access to what they need when they need it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. So it's almost like a self-adjusting security system, right? It adapts to changes.
Yeah, it does.
Within the organization. What about these workflows I keep hearing about?
Oh, yeah. Workflows are all about establishing really clear processes
Okay.
for requesting access and approving it.
Right.
So every access request has to be justified, it has to be documented.
So no more shadow IT.
That's right. No more shadow IT, no more people just giving themselves access because they think they need it.
Yeah.
So workflows basically eliminate that by introducing accountability and transparency. And speaking of accountability, that's where access reviews come in.
Okay, so what are access reviews and why are they so important?
So access reviews are like periodic checks to make sure everything is in order. It's about regularly reviewing user permissions, making sure that they're still valid and they're still necessary.
Right. So it's kind of like, cleaning out your closet, right? Getting rid of those old permissions you don't need.
Yeah, exactly.
But why is that so important? Like, is it really that big of a deal?
It is, because, over time, people accumulate all of these permissions that they don't necessarily need anymore.
Okay.
It's called privilege creep. And it can be a big security risk. So access reviews prevent that.
So we've got the life cycle,
Yep.
we've got the workflows, we've got the reviews. How do all these pieces kind of work together in a real world scenario?
Yeah, well, that's a great question.
I know Bert Blevins in his videos. He gives some really great examples.
Yeah. One of the ones that comes to mind is his video on password rotation in Red Hat Linux.
Oh, yeah.
That's
right.
That's where he emphasizes how crucial it is for system security and compliance.
He does. He really emphasizes that, like, regularly rotating those passwords, it makes it so much harder for those attackers to gain that unauthorized access.
Yeah.
It's like changing the locks on your house, right?
Exactly.
Regularly. And what about his video on audit trails within systems like Secret Server?
Oh, yeah. That one's all about transparency and accountability.
Okay.
So Secret Server keeps track of every change, every access attempt to sensitive data. So if there's ever a question about who did what and when, you have a record of it.
It's like a security camera for your system.
That's right.
That records every single activity.
It is.
And his video on approval workflow processes.
Yeah. That one really highlights how workflows streamline operations.
Okay.
And make it much easier to manage access requests and approvals.
Right.
They automate the process, which reduces errors.
Right.
And make sure everything is documented properly.
So it's not just about security, it's also about efficiency. making everybody's lives a little easier.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a nice bonus.
Yeah, it is. It is. And all of this really applies to individuals as much as it does to organizations.
Right.
So it's about adopting that security mindset, that security awareness, applying it to your own life, your own information, your own data.
I love that connection.
Yeah.
It's not just for the big guys.
No. It's for everyone. It's about understanding the principles and, applying them to protect yourself.
So even if we're not cybersecurity experts,
Yep.
we can still take steps to kind of implement those IAG principles.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's pretty empowering. And now, Bert doesn't just stop there. He goes on to talk about some pretty interesting concepts.
Yeah, he does. He does.
One that really stood out to me was this whole oath, OTP MFA. Like, what is that all about?
So that stands for Open Authentication, Time-Based, One-Time Password, Multi-Factor Authentication.
Oh my God.
It's a mouthful, I know. But it's basically adding another layer of security to your accounts by requiring a code from an app in addition to your password.
Okay, so it's like that extra layer of verification you get when you log into, like, your bank account.
Exactly.
But it's like a special app?
Yeah.
Generates the code.
It does.
Wow.
And it's much stronger than just using a password alone. And it's becoming really popular as organizations kind of move to this passwordless future that everyone talks about.
Speaking of a passwordless future, Bert also mentions this thing called Zero Trust Network Access, or ZTNA.
Yeah, ZTNA.
Like, that sounds pretty futuristic.
It is. It's a big shift in how we think about security.
Okay.
So it operates on this principle of never trust, always verify.
Oh, wow.
It assumes that no user or device should be granted access without verification. Doesn't matter if they're inside the network or outside.
So even if they get past those initial security barriers, they're still going to face challenges at every step of the way.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That sounds incredibly secure.
It is, and it's becoming more and more important as organizations move their operations to the cloud. Which brings us to another concept he explores, this cloud identity discovery.
Right.
What is that all about?
So, as organizations are moving more to the cloud, he says you have to pay attention to your identities.
Right.
Right. Traditional identity management tools may not be enough anymore.
Right, because it's a whole different environment.
Exactly. It's a whole different environment. You need a different set of tools to navigate that landscape.
Okay.
And cloud identity discovery helps them understand their cloud identities, figure out if there are any risks, and enforce consistent security policies across all those cloud environments.
So it's about bringing order to the cloud.
Yeah, exactly. It's about bringing order to the cloud.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We have.
We went from like the basics of IAG to these pretty advanced concepts.
No, it's exciting stuff though. It's all about understanding these principles and then just applying them in different situations.
Right.
Whether it's your organization, your own personal life, it's all the same.
Yeah. And the best part is we're just scratching the surface. In part 2, we're going to delve even deeper into Bert Blevins' insights.
Yeah.
Particularly, we're going to look at those privileged accounts.
Right. Those are important.
Stay tuned.
They are.
Yeah.
So, welcome back to our deep dive on identity access governance.
Back again.
Those advanced concepts we were just talking about?
Yeah.
They all kind of come back to this really important part of IAG. It's securing those privileged accounts.
Right. The accounts with access to all the important stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like those system administrators and database managers. Like if those accounts are compromised, that's bad news.
Oh, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And that's where this thing called privileged access management comes in.
PM.
Yeah, and Bert Blevins, he's a huge advocate for this.
Oh, yeah, he is.
He says controlling and monitoring access to these keys to the kingdom accounts is super important.
It's like having a security detail, right?
Yeah.
Just for those VIP accounts.
Absolutely. So one of the key things that he really emphasizes is credential management.
Okay.
So that's about making sure the passwords and the keys and all those credentials for those privileged accounts are stored safely.
No more sticky notes with passwords on them under the keyboard.
Exactly. That's what he would say.
Okay. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, I think we have, yeah. But he also believes in session monitoring.
Okay.
So this is really where those PAM solutions are really important.
Yeah.
Because they can record and audit everything that user does with that privileged access.
So it's like a security camera, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like Big Brother's watching.
Making sure everything is on the up and up.
Exactly. And it deters bad behavior, but it also helps with accountability.
Right. if something does go wrong,
You know who did it.
you know who did it. You have the record.
You got the receipts.
So we talked about lifecycle management and workflows before.
Right.
Does he talk about how access policies fit into all of this?
Yeah, he does. And he really stresses the importance of granular control.
Oh,
So giving people the absolute minimum access they need to do their job. No more all access passes for everybody.
okay. So really like a need-to-know basis.
Need to know. That's it.
That makes sense. Does he say why he feels so strongly about PAM? I feel like he's on a mission to educate people about this.
He is, and it's because he thinks it's overlooked a lot, even by organizations that have really strong security
Oh, wow.
in other areas.
So you can have great security, but you're missing this one thing.
Yeah,
It's like having a state-of-the-art security system, but you're leaving your window open.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, it's not just for huge companies.
Okay, good.
He says any size organization can benefit. It's about scaling your security strategy to your needs and your resources.
So you don't have to be a giant corporation to need to protect information.
No, not at all. Now, he's also passionate about moving beyond passwords.
Yeah,
We talked about this before.
right.
He's a huge fan of multi-factor authentication.
MFA
Yeah, he thinks it's like a stepping stone.
to that passwordless future.
Yeah, exactly. What are some of the methods he recommends for MFA?
Yeah, that's a good question. What does he suggest?
Well, he's a fan of those authenticator apps. The ones that generate those one-time passwords.
Yeah, the time-based ones.
Time-based, exactly.
That we talked about earlier.
Right. And he also likes those hardware security keys,
Oh, okay.
which are a little more secure.
like a physical key for your computer.
Yes, a little device. You plug it in.
Pretty cool.
So there's that extra layer of authentication.
So does he think like passwords are going away completely?
I think he does. He thinks it's achievable, but it requires people to change their mindset, and embrace new technologies. It's about moving beyond passwords and finding those more secure and more user-friendly ways to authenticate.
So what does he think the future is?
He's a big believer in biometrics. Things like fingerprint scanning and facial recognition.
Okay. That would be very convenient. No more remembering passwords.
Right.
But is it a little scary?
Yeah. I mean, that's always the balance, right?
Right. Privacy versus security.
Exactly. Security and privacy go together. And it's about finding the right balance.
Yeah. And he seems to emphasize it's not just about the technology, it's about the people using it.
Oh, yeah. He's a big believer that people are often the weakest link in the chain.
Okay.
No matter how good your security is, if someone makes a mistake or they're careless,
It's all for nothing.
yeah, it can be undermined. So that's why he's a huge advocate for security awareness training,
Okay.
educating users about the threats, best practices, how to spot a phishing scam, all that.
So it's about empowering people
Yeah, to be a part of the solution.
to be proactive.
Okay.
Now he has this idea of like success scores
Yeah.
to evaluate how good an organization's cybersecurity is.
Yeah, he came up with this system. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, tell me more about it.
So it's supposed to help organizations understand their overall security health.
Okay.
So it takes into account their password hygiene, how much they're using MFA, their vulnerability management.
So it's like a report card.
It is. It's totally a report card for your cybersecurity.
Okay.
And so they get a score based on how they're doing in each area. And obviously, the higher the score,
The better.
the better.
Okay.
Yeah. So he thinks that having a measurable way to track that helps organizations stay on top of things.
It's like a fitness tracker
It is. It is.
for your cybersecurity.
For your organization.
Okay, so before we move on, let's recap what we've learned,
Yeah, let's do that.
specifically from Bert Blevins.
Okay, good idea.
We talked about the importance of securing those privileged accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and privileged access management, PM, is really important.
It is. It's all about implementing controls and monitoring to protect those accounts.
The ones that have all that high-level access, right?
Yeah, exactly. And, he highlighted things like credential management, session monitoring, and having really strong access policies.
Right, no more all-access passes.
Nope, no more. And we talked about the move towards that passwordless future,
Right,
looking at different technologies like MFA, biometrics, hardware keys.
yeah, to replace those traditional passwords.
Passwords are on their way out. But then, of course, we can't forget about the human element.
Yeah, the human element.
Security awareness training is really important.
Yeah. It's not just about the technology.
It's about the people.
It's about the people. And then those success scores
Right.
offer a way for organizations to actually measure how good their cybersecurity is.
Quantify it.
Okay. So really good insights here.
Yeah, great insights.
And valuable for organizations, but also for individuals.
Absolutely.
Who want to improve their cybersecurity.
Definitely. But Bert doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
He has even more videos. In part 3, we're going to explore his thoughts on zero trust network access and cloud identity discovery.
Can't wait. Join us for part 3 as we continue our deep dive.
All right, so welcome back. We've been talking all about cybersecurity, IAG, PAM, the human element.
A lot to cover.
It is. And now in this final part, we're going to get into some, some more cutting-edge concepts that Bert Blevins highlights in his videos.
Yeah, he's got some good ones.
He does, and I'm particularly interested in this whole zero trust network access, ZTNA.
Right.
It sounds pretty serious.
It is a big change from how we used to think about security. Like, in the old days, if you were inside the network, you were trusted, but ZTNA says, nope, no one gets a free pass.
So it's like having a security checkpoint at every single point.
Yeah, pretty much. Doesn't matter if you're inside the network or outside. Every single request is treated with suspicion.
Okay, so it's really like never trust, always verify. Yeah. That's it. That's the whole idea. Don't assume anyone or anything can be trusted just because they're on the inside.
Makes sense in today's world. But how does this actually work? Like, what are the principles behind it?
Well, one of the most important is this idea of least privilege access.
Right, we've talked about that before.
We have, but it's even more important with ZTNA. Users only get access to the specific things they need to do their jobs.
So if somebody does get in, they can't do as much damage.
Exactly. You're reducing the attack surface. And he also talks about continuous monitoring. Like, these ZTNA systems are constantly watching what users and devices are doing. And if anything looks weird, they can cut off access right away.
It's like having a security guard that never sleeps.
Pretty much. And remember how we were talking about cloud computing and all the remote work people are doing? ZTNA is great for that. It's designed to work in the cloud and keep those remote workers secure no matter where they are.
So it's really built for the way we work today. Now, there was another concept that I thought was interesting, cloud identity discovery.
Oh, yeah.
What's his take on that?
But he says that as more and more companies move their stuff to the cloud, they really need to pay attention to identities. Those old tools might not cut it anymore.
It's like you need a new set of tools to navigate that world.
That's a good way to put it. Cloud identity discovery helps them see what's going on with their cloud identities, spot any red flags, and make sure their security rules are the same everywhere.
Okay, so it's about bringing order to that cloud chaos.
Exactly. And it can do some pretty cool things. Like, it can automatically find and keep track of all the cloud identities. Users, groups, roles, permissions, the whole 9 yards. Think of it like a map of who has access to what.
It's like a digital census.
Yeah, I like that. And then it can analyze what people are doing and see if anything's fishy. Like, is somebody looking at stuff they shouldn't be? Do they suddenly have way too much power?
Sounds like you need a good detective for that.
Right. And of course, it can fix things automatically. Like, it can change permissions, cut off access, or send an alert to the security team. It's like having a self-healing security system.
It's been really fascinating learning about all this stuff.
Yeah, Bert really knows his stuff.
He does, and he makes it so easy to understand.
And I think that's a good point for everyone listening. You don't need to be a tech whiz to get this.
Right, just start learning and be more careful online.
Exactly. Cybersecurity is an ongoing thing, always something new to learn.
So to our listeners, go check out Bert Blevins' videos. He's got so much great information.
Yeah, he's a great resource for anyone who wants to learn more.
And we all need to do our part to make the online world a little safer, Bryce.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into identity access governance. Until next time, stay secure out there.